Howdy, folks, and welcome into the Morocco Media Center here on the campus of Rhode Island College. And as you can hear, we have a lively crowd here. We are finding out the destiny of Rhode Island College women's basketball. Cody Shalafu here with a special presentation of Inside RIC Athletics, a live presentation of Inside RIC Athletics. And we have the most of the entire women's basketball team here, a lot of faculty, and anyone who wanted to come down here live. And again, you can follow us here on GoAnchorman.com. Also, if you want to check in to see how the live tournament is going to play out, you can go on NCAA Division3.com. Has the whole selection show, and we will find that all out. So Rhode Island College just picked up their 5th Little East regular season championship. We're co-champions in the regular season, went down to Eastern Connecticut and beat the Warriors to make it 3 straight Little East Conference tournament championships in a row, led by Jenna Cosgrove and this wonderful group of young women here who have been the pinnacle of basketball here in the Northeast. They have really run things in the Little East, and it's been a pleasure to watch them play. And today we find out where their destiny takes them. There is a situation where they might be able to host. So we'll find out live if they are going to be playing here at the Murray Center or if they are going away like last year. They were able to go to the NCAAs last year. This year, obviously, 2013-14, 2011-12. That 2011-2012 season was the last time they hosted tournament games here at the Murray Center. And then back in the 80s, 82, 83, 84, 85. Those were all 6 of the NCAA championship appearances for this Anchor Women's squad. They've won Little East tournaments in 12, 14, 21, 22, and 23, and along with that, they've also won the Little East regular season tournament as well. So if they win the regular season, every time they have won the tournament, they've won the Little East regular season as well as the top team in the entire Little East. And already right now, a 24 victories, a program record. And they're looking to expand that. And it has been a fun season, the season that continue to go. So we will kind of just let the camera roll. And then at the end of the selection show, you'll kind of see me give little statistics, little things here of that as we kind of see how the field goes on. Then we'll sit down with Coach Cosgrove and some players, kind of get their thoughts on the season, get their thoughts on the NCAAs and all that fun stuff. So stay tuned. We have a fun show ahead of us, and I'm Cody Shalafu, and we will see you guys in just a minute. This presentation should be kick-starting in just a second, so we'll be back.
same weekend. It's been 7 years since we were all together in Atlanta for the 2016 national title game. That was between Thomas More and Tufts. This year, our national championship will be played at American Airlines Arena in Dallas on April 1st, alongside the D2 and D1 national championship matches. Before we go too far, a couple housekeeping notes for you. This year's tournament features, as usual, 64 teams, 44 automatic bids for winning your conference tournament, one invitation available to a collection of schools that play in conferences without an A2 bid available to them. That means the other 19 spots in the bracket are true at-large bids awarded to the schools that the National Selection Committee says are most deserving. We'll begin play this coming weekend. Games are on March 3rd and 4th. 16 schools hosting pods of 4 teams each. Those 16 winners will be sent to 4 schools for the sectional round March 10th and 11th. All of those games will be broadcast or streamed by the host institutions. After the bracket's been made public, we'll share all that game time information with you over on NCAA.com. You can find all that info available on school websites for each of the teams competing in the field as well. National semifinals this year are on Saturday, March 18th in Hartford, Connecticut, where Trinity College will host the top 4 remaining teams. Those 2 semifinal games will be streamed on NCAA.com, 5 p.m., 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And 2 weeks later, of course, on Saturday, April 1st, in order to have this awesome celebration, our national championship will be held in Dallas. That game will be televised live by CBS Sports. Tip-off scheduled for noon Eastern. We'll have ticketing information available for you here as well. Before we get to the bracket, we got the most recognizable analyst in Division III Hoops with us this afternoon. It's Dave McHugh from D3Hoops.com and the Hoopsville Podcast. Dave, before we dive in, I just want to say thanks on behalf of the entire D3 basketball community, man. You guys and your team do such an amazing job covering our sport, and in so many ways you become synonymous with the success of D3 basketball. So thank you for the work that you guys all do. Any thoughts off the top of the show here before we get started?
Well, thank you, Brendan. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. A couple of thoughts to keep in mind. Women have priority in the opening weekend, meaning we've already seen, if you've watched the men's show, some hints at who will be hosting in these games. They don't get the priority the second weekend. That's where it swaps to men. So just some things to keep an eye on when you're looking at the bracket. Also, make sure you take an eye when we see the bracket later at some of the times that have been posted for these games. The women have taken on a nice twist from the men. It's really appreciative. I think we're going to get a good balanced bracket here. I think we've got some fascinating matchups, as we always do. There's a lot more parity in women's basketball than in the past, and a lot, some newer teams rising to the top. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too. Let's get to it. Let's start in the top left-hand corner of the bracket, where one of the top teams in the country is hosting to open things up. It's the NEWMAC champions from Smith. Quality of play in New England this year was outrageously good, and frankly, the NEWMAC champs just might be the best in the group. Pioneers have the depth and the star power to really make a deep run in this year's tournament. They beat Babson Sunday to lock up a conference title. Now they're taking their talents to the national field for the 5th time in program history. They'll play Morrisville State, the champion from the United East Conference, who for the 2nd straight year is in. Congratulations to the Mustangs. The tournament now 2 years after have never been previously invited prior to that. See if they can build on the first round loss to Gettysburg from last year. Marymount back this year. They topped Cabrini in the Atlantic East title game on Saturday. Saints haven't been in the national tournament since 2020. They've been led by Samantha Shackelford and Chandler Edelton. Both had great seasons. St. John Fisher on the bracket here, back-to-back champ in the Empire 8. Cardinals beat Nazareth this past weekend. They ran the table perfect 18-0 in league play. They lost only twice, and both of those were way back in November. It means the Cardinals have won 21 games in a row. 19th NCAA championship for them, including their 3rd straight. Mary Washington earns an at-large after losing to Christopher Newport in the Coast-to-Coast championship Saturday. Jordan Carpenter earned first-team all-conference honors, paced the Eagles with 30 points in that title game. First time since 2017, the Eagles are back in the field. Roger Williams beat Endicott in the Commonwealth Coast Conference, so they're in here after capping an awesome season that was also an 18-0 month in the league. The Hawks played just one of the best opening round games of the tournament last year, but ultimately fell just short of base. Mitchell rampaged Eastern Nazarene in the NECC final. That means the Mariners are the league's first ever women's basketball champs. Only had 4 teams in the league this year, but still received an auto bid. It's the final season of the grace period after dropping below the threshold for the NECC. And last team in this part of the bracket, it's DeSales who comes into the tournament true to form. The Bulldogs allowed the fewest points per game of any team in America And they suffocated Stevens in the match-winning title game, 59-36. Bulldogs held the Ducks to 27% shooting and forced 24 turnovers to win their 5th straight match-winning title. What do you think, Dave?
Well, first and foremost, they're treating Smith as the top team in the NCAA tournament here in this position, and this is something Lynn Hersey and her squad have been building towards for a number of years. They have had a dominating season. They have been a very good program for the last few years. They've been in the top 5, top 10 conversation the entire year. Hats off to the Pioneers, an all-women's school out of Massachusetts. They are very deserving. Morrisville is going to have a very tough battle there. Marymount, never count them out. They almost made the semifinals a few seasons ago. You just never know what you're going to get out of Marymount. And that's going to be a tough test for St. John Fisher, who does make it a second consecutive conference title rolling over Nazareth. 19th appearance in the NCAA. They're certainly experienced. Mary Washington back in. They are battle tested. They have some big wins over Gettysburg, Randolph-Macon this year. And they have to take on Christopher Newport every season, so you know Gina Applebury's squad's going to be tested, and they're back in since the first time since 2017. That's a hell of a battle with Roger Williams. I love Roger Williams' team this year. I think they're a tremendous matchup. Kelly Thompson's done some amazing things with that group, and I'm really rooting for them. But unfortunately, taking on a team I'm also rooting for. Hey, DeSales, by the way, 5 straight MAC titles, but they're at home. That's huge because, well, they're really tough at home. 41-game winning streak is on the line. They are 64 in their last 65 home games are a victory. Mitchell's going to have a lot on the table there against the DeSales Bulldogs. By the way, DeSales, basically as a conference, will dissolve next year.
Moving on to one of the more fun at-large selections here. Nobody was hoping for a bit more than Trinity. The Bantams lost to Tufts in the NESCAC final, but they got invited to the tournament after a fabulous season. Of course, it's been on their minds all year that the national semifinals are going to be held on their home floor before the title game goes to Dallas. This season is just the 3rd time they've ever won at least 20 games in their first NCAA tournament appearance since 1997. They're going to open up with Notre Dame from Maryland, who beat Clark Summit yesterday in their first ever appearance in the CSAC title game. Notre Dame hit 5 threes in a 29-point third quarter to put the Gators way out front. They never looked back. If you listen closely, you can probably still hear the echo of the bubble that popped when Cortland beat SUNY New Paltz in the conference title game Saturday. Red Dragons registered their first and only win this season against another regionally ranked opponent, but it came when it mattered most. They punched their ticket back to the field. St. Vincent, the top team coming out of the PAC this year. Nice turnaround for the Bearcats. They were 8-14 last season for the conference title in the last 5 years and their 4th invite to the national tournament. Ohio Wesleyan gets this year's bid from the NCAC. Allen Bishops beat Overland Saturday after the Young women knocked off top-seeded Wittenberg. They stole a vote from somebody. Wesleyan was outscored 27-3 behind the arc in the title game, but they made up for it at the free throw line. First conference championship since 08-09. Last automatic bid to be handed out this past weekend went to Gustavus Adolphus, winners of the Minnesota Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. They thumped Concordia Moorhead, cut down the nets at home. Webster on the bracket, champions of the SLIAC. Gorloks have won 3 of the last 4 and now 4 of the last 6 in the conference. They survived the late push from Westminster Saturday. And hosting duties to Wisconsin Whitewater, who's ready to prove last year's thrill ride to the national championship game was not a fluke. Warhawks are Lilac champs again this year. They've taken a couple hits during the year, but what school in their league doesn't? Terry Carollo, 21st season. She's taken her team to the national semifinals 4 times. Last year's National Coach of the Year, number 2, led by his brother Casey, was on an All-American caliber season. They beat Eau Claire on Sunday. The Warhawks are ready to make this year the season. They're the queens of Division 3. What do you think, Dave?
Trinity, Connecticut is the home of the semifinals this year, and they would love to go all the way to those games while riding that home court advantage. They'll take on the Gators of Notre Dame of Maryland. Just to be clear, this is the Maryland team. I believe their final season as a single-sex institution, but they've had a really good basketball team of late. Trinity shouldn't overlook them. Cortland taking on St. Vincent all the way out in Connecticut. That's an interesting matchup. I think that's going to get some attention. Gustavus knocked off Concordia Moorhead in the conference championship game. Concordia Moorhead was having a magical season. Gustavus shot 77% in the first quarter to end that one pretty early. Transylvania, where are we here? Yes, I'm right. Ohio. Sorry, guys, blowing that one. Whitewater is what I wanted to talk about. Terry Carollo's team is fascinating because it's being led by her daughter, who's a sophomore. This is a team to watch, and I think Webster has a tough task, And then Ohio Wesleyan and Gustavus Adolphus are going to have an even tougher task, whoever gets out of that. Hats off to Whitewater. Watch out for them. By the way, first time the Bulls program's been in the tournament since 2017.
Bottom left quadrant, Transylvania, one of 3 undefeated teams in D3 hoops. They're a serious threat to be the last team standing. Of course, they're hosting. And won the Heartland this year, haven't lost a conference game since 2020. Received 9 first-place votes. They have earned the right to stay home. For as efficient as they are offensively, that defense should scare you too. It's a three-peat for Rhodes, who pulled off the upset in the Southern Athletic Association Sunday. Every at-large flying high in Atlanta, they've made the cut. In the field as an at-large since the UAA Conference, of course, doesn't have a postseason tournament. Number 17-7 this year, it was still enough to get in the field for the 5th time in program history. Milliken gets an auto bid from the CCIW. They handled their business in the tournament, backing up their regular season title. Big Blue, led by former National Player of the Year, their head coach, Olivia Lett, won the national championship with Illinois Wesleyan back in 2012. For the 18th time in program history, Wisconsin Oshkosh is in an at-large to the Titans, who fell to Whitewater in the semis of the conference tournament. Titans were 1996 national champs. They put the 34-15 overall tournament record test against this year's field. Let's start with Washington and Lee, who continued its record-breaking season with a 22nd win in a row. I should say just 22nd period on Saturday, not in a row. They won the ODAC title, get the AQ. Generals play a lot of depth, but their freshmen are very talented. Mary Schmusner and freshman sharpshooter Quinn McGinnis have been a huge boost. The Pool B bid this year goes to Berea. Back in the field as the winner in the Collegiate Conference of the South. Mountaineers don't have a lot of D3 history as a program, but they sure have been good. They've won at least 22 games each of their first 6 seasons playing at this level. Last team in this quadrant is hosting, and it's in Ada, Ohio. The Ohio Urban Polar Bears, who finished the regular season top-ranked team in the Ohio Athletic Conference. Backed it up with the tournament title on Saturday. Polar Bears have historically been NCAA Tournament regulars. This is their 10th occasion. But as the league's been dominated by John Carroll and Baldwin Wallace in recent years, this is the Polar Bears' first trip to the national tournament since 2017. Bryn Sermon leading the way for them. Dave, what do you think? Let's move on as Morris comes back to the bracket. Morris with an auto bid after the Dewhawks knocked off top-seeded Wartburg in the American Rivers Conference, making 4 titles in program history now, and they trip back into the field for the first time in 7 years. They've been a top 10 free throw shooting team this season. They've won 10 straight coming into the tournament. These are always fun moments. For the first time ever, Knox is going to the NCAA Tournament. Prairie Fire put Galesburg, Illinois on the map this afternoon. They slipped past Ripon on the Midwest Conference title game on Saturday. Give Knox credit after a really tough game from behind the three-point line. Figured out a way to grind out a victory, and they get to play this week. Washington University is in an at-large bid to the Bears. They did a bid after a brief hiatus. They had been in the tournament 31 years in a row. Then that ended in 2019. And of course, they have played well enough this year that they got back in. Bumpy last couple of weeks, but the Bears make the cut. Big, deep breath for the Trine Thunder. After clinching a share of the conference regular season MIAA title, they lost a hope in the championship game Saturday. Trine, 6th straight shot in the NCAA tournament. Another undefeated conference champ is Messiah, the Falcons, who are dancing again. Matt Commonwealth champs. Started the season 3-2, and they've won 22 in a row since then. They're as hot as anybody coming in. It's also their 22nd all-time appearance. They'll host Bridgewater State, while after Westfield State in yesterday's basketball tournament. The Bears are in the tournament. 21 wins represents their best season since 2013. Greensboro College is in as the champs in the USA South. SEC Pride finished the job this year and punched their ticket. After last year, they took just their 2nd loss of the whole season in a conference title game. They were left home at 25-2. Second championship in program history for Greensboro. And NYU, automatic bid, the only school in the country to get one without winning the conference tournament under UAA. As usual, violence and rest of the league well tested. NYU at 22-2, they are a serious threat to making the Trinity in a couple of weeks, mostly because of their fabulous defense. Hey, what do you think?
A couple quick notes first. I just love the Knox Prairie Fire. Favorite mascot now. Great story about getting the NCAA tournament under a coach who has a ton of Division I experience. Came to Division III to get some head coaching experience and has really had his team buy in. This is a great story. I think Morris is going to have a little bit of a battle here. WashU was thought to be maybe a host at some point in the last couple of weeks. It hasn't materialized, and we got that hint with the men hosting on the men's side of things. Messiah hosting's a note because NYU is technically the higher ranked team, higher seed team, however you want to use that language in this pod. NYU can't host. They didn't put into host because unfortunately they were about to open up their brand new facility with a brand new basketball court for the first time in 6 years. And the water pipe burst, ruining the court, so they don't have a place technically to play in the postseason. So this is really an NYU bracket being hosted at Messiah. I think there's some fascinating matchups here. Greensboro is going to be at Messiah. I love it.
All right, we're halfway through the bracket. We're going to take a quick commercial break.
So far, we're about halfway through the NCAA selection show, and Rhode Island College still on the board here. Have not found out who they're playing, where they're playing. We got to a quick commercial break, but teams like Smith and Bridgewater State, teams that Rhode Island College has played this year, they are in the tournament. They have won their respective conferences, so some familiar faces here. Also some other teams such as Trinity and such are in the bracket. Here's the return. We'll be right back once we find out where Rhode Island College will be selected.
We start this quadrant with the Christopher Newport Captains, coast-to-coast champs. They come to the NCAA Tournament, top-ranked team in the country. This is kind of hard to wrap your head around. This Roberts team has lost only one since December of 2019. That will lost to Trinity in the third round of the tournament last March. They will host Brooklyn, who's been one of the most consistent teams in the country. That doesn't get the appreciation that they deserve. Bulldogs have won at least 20 games 10 straight years, and a win in the first round of the tournament would extend that to 11. They are once again City University of New York Athletic Conference champions. Elizabethtown, an at-large bid after their second straight 20-win season, got off to the program's best start since the 86-87 campaign. Blue Jays took a +17 scoring margin in the tournament. 1 year removed from just barely missing the cut, an at-large bid to Stevens. Tournament for the fifth time in program history, first since 2018. And trying to make a run in March after a 14-2 conference record in the MAC Freedom. It is a great day to be a Yellow Jacket. Baldwin Wallace back in the field with an at-large from the Ohio Athletic Conference. Jackets opened the year 13-0 before stumbling the Ohio Rollers in January. In fact, they were 17-1 before they got caught up a bit in the league. Still, few coaches in the country can get the best out of their teams the way Sherry Harrah can. 33rd year, 650 wins at least. Hasn't had a losing record in 31 seasons. 17th trip for BW. They're going to play a team who's been waiting on pins and needles here, begging for a chance to keep playing. Welcome to the tournament to Wartburg, an at-large who likely got one of the very last bids in the field. They're out in the American Rivers Conference. Knights with their 16th trip in school history. Those two teams on the road to start the tournament. When people talk about D3 hoops in Wisconsin, the WIAC always the first conference to come up in conversation. But let's give St. Edward some love here. Green Knights have put together an awesome season, ran the table with 18 straight wins in the NACC. In fact, they haven't lost since the calendar flipped over. Green and gold are dancing into Pier for the 15th time ever, first time since 2017. And this pod is hosted by Hope, the reigning national champions, back to try to defend their title in 2023. Flying Dutch dropped 2 games this season, which is one more than they've dropped the last 3 years combined. Brian Morehouse's program is right now the measuring stick in the country. Their senior class is 102-3. Dave, what do you think about the top right here?
A lot of interesting things here. Christopher Newport, first and foremost, congratulations to Bill Broderick. He's got 250 career wins now. And Sandra Fan is the first player to win 4 straight conference titles as a player there. During her tenure, 101-11, by the way. You mentioned how good they are in the last few years. That is certainly the case. They are 68-1 since 2019. Really interesting with Brooklyn. They're going to have to be Bulldogs here. Unfortunately, if they want to try and get past the Captain Chaos defense that Newport employs. Elizabethtown Stevens, interesting matchup because these teams are kind of somewhat close together and used to be on the opposite side of the same conference, but not anymore. Baldwin Wallace is taking on a bubble burster here. I think some people are going to be surprised to see Wartburg there. Maybe not surprised, but it certainly is going to ruin somebody's day. And Hope, until somebody can beat Hope in the NCAA tournament, they should be the favorite to win it all. But look at that. Hope and Christopher Newport on the other side of a mini-8. That's going to be interesting if the two of them face off coming up in a couple of rounds.
Time for the bottom half of the top right quadrant. Trinity, Texas on the board here. They are good enough to strike fear into anybody. You really can't have a conversation about the most consistently high-achieving programs in the nation without quickly mentioning Cameron Hill's Tigers. They won 20 games 9 years in a row if you discount the COVID season. Last year, they knocked out Christopher Newport in the round of 16, which turned out to be CAU's only loss in their last 67 games. 10th title in team history out of the SCAC for Trinity, Texas. One of the best conference tournament runs around the country came to the Lone Star State. Texas Dallas, the Comets beat East Texas Baptist to win the American Southwest title. Comets were the 4th seed in the league tournament. At the right time, and their season continues this weekend. It is party time in Texas for Hart Simmons. You're in with an at-large bid. ASC tournament hosts hope to defend their conference tournament title. But they were defeated in the semis by UT Dallas. Snapped that 20-game win streak. Now they're trying to bounce back for their 9th NCAA tournament appearance. Redlands had one of the most dramatic wins during conference championship week. Bulldogs slipped past Laverne 70-69 in the SCIAC title game. That win felt like retribution after last year's disappointing ending. Now they're going to try to build on it against the best teams in the country. Liberty League champs next on the board. It's Skidmore, the Thoroughbreds, nipped Ithaca in a bit of an upset on Sunday. Skidmore hasn't won more than 18 games in a season since 2010. They're cruising into the field, feeling good about the way they're playing, and why not? After losing a couple close games in Ithaca in the regular season, they finally got there when it mattered most. Johns Hopkins in with an at-large. Top seed in the Centennial Conference tournament, but they fell to Gettysburg in the championship. Even in the loss, though, they played well. Hopkins is in the field 13th time in program history, 3rd under Catherine Bixby. 2 more teams here. U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, automatic good. Putting together a great season. They are the Skyline champs. 3rd time the Mariners have won the league title now. This year is a bit more special, though. They've broken team records, 14 straight wins and 24 total. And there are not too many teams that play tough schedules the way that Tufts has to play them. Winners of the NESCAC this year. Tufts played NYU, Scranton, and Stephen on top of their traditional powerhouse foes in the league. Their win over Trinity secured a bid to a 14th NCAA tournament since 2008, including their 11th in a row. Tufts, the national runner-up twice the last few years. Maybe this is the year they'll finally get it done. They're going to host Dave. What do you think?
By the way, we got our Texas pod up in that upper left-hand corner. And by the way, Cameron Hill's assistant coach for the last bunch of years at Trinity, Texas was Joe Shotland, who's the head coach at Texas Dallas in his first season, taking over for Polly Thomason. So a little bit of a friendly rematch there for Shotland, who's actually a Trinity alum, but lived and grew up in the Dallas area. So that's a fascinating one. Interesting, they kept Hardin Simmons in that pod as well and flew in Redlands. That's an interesting decision to be made there. And that tough matchup, that pod is fascinating. Skidmore versus Hopkins, I'm actually very intrigued by. Skidmore would love to maybe have actually cut down the nets for their championship, and now would maybe like to take it out on the Blue Jays. But Tufts is going to be the beast there. They are a very good program, maybe not appreciated for just how good they are.
Bottom right corner now, 16 teams left. Hosting duties for Babson, who lost to Smith in the UMAC final. They got large anyways. Beavers led by Judy Winstrom, 11th winningest coach in D3 history, 20 or more wins 18 times. Babson ready for tournament play at home. They'll start with Maine Maritime, the 2023 champs in the North Atlantic Conference. Congratulations to the Mariners, first since 2005. Gettysburg 2023 champion out of the Centennial. Bullets are flying high in the tournament. St. Davis' team opened the bracket with a win last year for losing GW on their home floor. 10th appearance, 7th since 2010 for Gettysburg. They played 6 consecutive championship games in their league, and they have certainly earned their way back to the tournament. SUNY New Paltz gets an at-large out of the SUNYAC. Conference Player of the Year, Brianna Fitzgerald. Conference Coaching Staff of the Year, led by Jamie Seward. Hawks secured their first unbeaten regular season in program history and fell to fifth win in the conference tournament title, but back in the field for the 4th straight time. How about those Marietta Pioneers and at-large from the OAC? Doesn't really matter when you lose when you look at the resume. And admittedly, it took Cole Vivian's team a little bit to get going, but once they did, they couldn't make it hang with anybody. 2nd straight NCAA Tournament appearance for the OAC runner-up. Welcome back to the field, Eastern Connecticut, an at-large bid. The Warriors have lost just 2 games since December 1st. Both of them were Rhode Island College, including when their 13-game win streak was snapped. Back in the NCAA Tournament out of the East Conference now for the 19th time ever. LaRoche won the AMCC in thrilling fashion to the ticket. AMCC champs beat Penn State Aaron 7-1-7, thanks to Micaiah Hinston's last second win. 3rd straight, 10th overall league title for the Red Hawks. Take a deep breath. You're hosting Ithaca. The Bombers are in and at home. Skidmore just snuck past Ithaca in the final. They were a little nervous today, but one of the most consistently strong programs in America was back in the field. They had won 16 in a row before dropping 2 of their last 3 at the end of the year. The regular season champs and their defense should lead them to some success in the tournament. They were good.
I love the Babson pod there. Maine Maritime, all the way out in down east Maine, furthest east team, I believe, in the entire NCAA. So they don't have a lot of places they can get to. Babson's a perfect spot. Second, Gettysburg there with New Paltz, I love. It's a great little matchup. Gettysburg, a team I'll admit, if you were looking at them in December, you thought there was no postseason possibilities. They have figured things out and become dangerous. Really tough defensive unit. Watch out for the Bullets. Nate Davis' squad is really good. Marietta, Eastern Connecticut, I love the fact that we can have a Connecticut and Ohio team meet up in New York, where LaRoche and Ithaca will be. Dan Raymond's squad for the Bombers at Ithaca might be one of his better teams he's ever had. Despite dropping 2 of their last 3, they're a team you should be watching.
Only 8 bids left to give. We start with an at-large. Out of the UAA, Chicago is in. The Maroons opened the year 16-1, lost a couple times, but grounded themselves and closed strong. Maroons advancing first time in 3 years, 9 times, now 20. Northwestern will appeal after beating North Central Minnesota in the Upper Midwest on Sunday. Second opposite in the NCAA Tournament, and their first since 2014. Back-to-back trips out of the NCAA Tournament for Wisconsin, and at-large, of course, from Eau Claire. The season continues this weekend. Whitman back in the field this year, determined to make a deep run. Last year's magic the season came to a close in the 2nd round. They were the 18th in the Northwest Conference. Making 3 straight titles now in the leagues for Rhode Island College. On Saturday to seal that win. This year's NJAC champs are from Rowan, who won the league on Saturday for the 8th time. Props won the conference for the 2nd time under Demetrius.
So Rhode Island College has just been announced. They'll be playing Rowan in the first round. Still trying to find out who the host team is. St. Joseph's Maine has just been announced in that same quadrant of the bracket. And it is Scranton who will be hosting that. So it is Rowan, St. Joe's, Maine, and Scranton will host. So the teams will have to go up to Scranton. So we'll be back in just a moment with some interviews, but it's Rhode Island College versus Rowan. And then in that same bracket, St. Joe's, Maine, going to Scranton. So Rhode Island College and Rowan, St. Joe's, Maine will face off in Scranton, and they will do their NCAA tourney journey. Don't go anywhere again. We'll be right back. We'll talk with Coach Cosgrove, talk with some players. We'll be back in a second. We'll keep the camera rolling. Don't go anywhere. All right, and that will do it here for our live presentation of Inside RIC Athletics. Thank you all for watching. You can watch, if you came in kind of halfway through or want to watch this whole thing back, you can find it at goanchorman.com. It is going to be Rowan is the opponent for Rhode Island College. They'll go down. Scranton will be hosting St. Joe's, Maine in that little quadrant of the bracket. So we will see the anchor woman go pretty soon here, so make sure to go to goanchorman.com to follow up all the schedule updates, all that fun stuff. We will have everything for you as we get the information. Again, thank you so much for joining us here on Inside RIC Athletics. I'm Cody Shalafu, and have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody.